Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here. This is my favorite episodes and moments from the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 1983 cartoon, which was produced by Filmation. I badly want to do another He-Man video. I'm a huge fan of the He-Man franchise. I already reviewed it on this channel. Gonna review it again on my main channel, Doug8798. But right now, I'm gonna give some of my favorite episodes and moments from this cartoon of all the 130 episodes that I've watched. Haven't watched all 130 episodes, but I've watched a lot of them. The first episode I'm going to start off with is the very first episode of He-Man, the 1983 series I actually saw, which was the Cosmic Comet, where Skeletor kidnaps some wizard named Zagraz and forces him to create these giant Silver Surfer looking men and tries to control the comet, but He-Man stops him by defeating his He-Man and Teela stop him by defeating his warriors. Also in this same episode, there was one cool moment in the beginning where Beastman charged at Skeletor. The sequence was awesome. Beastman charged at He-Man. The sequence of Beastman running was awesome, and He-Man grabbed him and wrestled him and threw him into the mud and told him he should dry off first. Then Evil Lynn did one of her magic spells, like she was gathering ki or something, and threw it at He-Man, and He-Man blocked it. And she got knocked into the mud, and they said, "You won't. This isn't over, He-Man." And He-Man was like, "Yeah, sure. Come back next time, but dry off first." That was a funny moment. And Zagraz, he was hilarious. He was this silly old wizard. Awesome episode to start off the series. The next episode I'm going to talk about is one of the more notable episodes because it featured one of the supporting villains, Trapjaw. In this episode, He-Man, Teela, Oracle, and Cringer have to travel to some far off place to meet this boy and his grandfather, who's in a wheelchair for some unexplained reason, until the end of the episode, to get a new source of energy called Eternium to power their light supply, at on Eternia. Trapjaw and Merman are dispatched by Skeletor to also retrieve this Eternium. Of course, during the mission, both sides meet, and Trapjaw comes up with a plan to eat the Eternium, which will make him almost as powerful as He-Man. He eats the Eternium, and he becomes almost as strong as He-Man. He has an awesome wrestling fight with He-Man, where he actually has the upper hand. He-Man in most other episodes defeats Trapjaw with ease, but Trapjaw was actually beating He-Man until was actually pounding and beating He-Man until and going toe to toe with him until the Eternium started wearing off. Just an awesome episode, and I love the huge role for the villain Trapjaw, one of my favorite characters in the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe franchise. And then I love the moral at the end, which teaches us that how action adventure shows like He-Man can make fighting look fun and cool, but it always reminds us that nothing good comes out of fighting, and when people fight, people can get hurt. I loved how they actually told us this more without being hypocritical or shoving it down our throats like in most cartoons. The subplot, of course, was this boy wanted to join the Royal Guard and become a soldier and a fighter like his dad. His dad at the end tells him that it was fighting that caused him to be bound to a wheelchair, and I thought that was an awesome episode and moment. The next episode is another notable episode, the arena, where this spiritual ball who looks like the sun, spiritual godlike ball who looks like the sun, called Ung, comes to Eternia to better observe the life on Eternia. But Skeletor and some goblin men invade Eternia, and a huge war breaks out between Skeletor, the Goblin Men, and the various masters of the universe and Eternian forces. And it was just an awesome fight. The godlike being on can't take it, so he chooses one person representing each one person representing both sides to fight in arena-style combat. And of course, he chooses He-Man and Skeletor as those beings to fight in arena-style combat. And this was an awesome fight. I love it when Skeletor and He-Man get to fight with magic, Skeletor's magic versus He-Man's wittiness and superhuman strength, and it was just an awesome fight. Skeletor summoned used all of his energy to summon various monsters to fight He-Man. He-Man, using awesome acrobatic skills and superhuman strength, defeated each of the monsters. Then in the end, one of my favorite moments, Skeletor, he powers up a giant. He gets a bug and gives it lots of power, causing it to become big and unstable. And Skeletor loses control of this bug, and the bug, of course, attacks him and tries to kill him. He-Man, unlike most heroes and characters in other shows and in real life, He-Man would have let him be killed by the monster, but he chose to beat up and destroy the monster and save Skeletor. And He-Man revealed that he cared about all sanctity of life, even evil people like Skeletor. And the spiritual essence stopped the fight and declared He-Man the winner and banished Skeletor back to wherever he came from. And it was just an awesome episode and an awesome moment at the end. And once again, reminding us that while fighting is fun, it doesn't solve anything. War just escalates to more violence. It didn't solve anything. It was only ended by a kind gesture from He-Man. I love that. That was a cool episode and a powerful moment. Another favorite episode of mine, the first episode of these two episodes. In these two episodes, Skeletor had possibly two of the best plans I've ever seen. I'm going to start off with the first one, with the Diamond Ray of Disappearance. Skeletor, first off, in the beginning, it was cool. He summoned all his evil warriors, Trapjaw, Beastman, Evil Lyn, Merman, and Triclops to his lair for his new plan. And he came up with his new ray called the Diamond Ray of Disappearance, which when touches someone, it knocks someone into a new dimension. Skeletor, you saw lots of good action between the Eternians and Skeletor's warriors in this episode, and Skeletor actually managed to defeat all of Eternia's forces by sending them to another dimension, and nearly defeated He-Man himself, who barely managed to break the diamond, which returned his friends to the current dimension, and saved him from being completely lost in another dimension for all eternity. This was the closest Skeletor had ever came to beating He-Man. It was an awesome plan too. The next episode was The Price of Power, where Skeletor and the Goblin Warrior from the Arena episode hatched a plan to trick He-Man into thinking he's killed a man. And it works. They disguise themselves as a man, and He-Man accidentally chops down a tree, which falls on a man, which falls on the Goblin Man, pretending to be dead. And it actually appears that He-Man actually killed someone. It actually appears like a death has happened in this cartoon, and I'm actually surprised a cartoon like He-Man, which is really meant for kids, chose something so dark. As Skeletor's plan. Is He-Man, of course, seeing that he's killed someone, gives up his power by throwing it into a bottomless pit. And of course retires from being He-Man and prepares to leave Eternia. Teela, knowing that Skeletor's, of course, forces are still there, Teela decides to forge a journey of her own to go fight Skeletor's warriors. Orko, of course, witnesses the Goblin and Skeletor celebrating over their successful plan, and realized that human was just a Goblin warrior in disguise and that he wasn't dead. So, of course, he convinces Adam to find his sword, which Adam barely finds, and becomes He-Man again, and comes back, saves Teela, and saves the day. Awesome episode, and another awesome episode where Skeletor nearly defeated He-Man, despite all his failures and plans in the other episodes. The last episode we're going to talk about is the Shaping Staff, which is an episode where Skeletor's warriors, Beastman and Evil Lyn, disguise themselves as King Randor and Marlena to get get to get the to get the to rule Eternia in their place, to rule Eternia in their place, to rule Eternia in their place. And in this episode, really plot wise didn't care much for this episode. The end was my favorite, where I think Skeletor summoned a warrior named Faker, who is a clone of He-Man but evil, to fight He-Man. It was an awesome wrestling fight, and He-Man actually knocked Faker into the bottomless pit, making Faker the only character to actually be killed off in this show, even though Skeletor at the end jokingly said he'll return once he finds Faker and fixes him, but Faker was never seen again in this show. Just a funny episode. And other awesome episodes include the episode where He-Man kidnapped the Adrenix warrior Stratos, one of my favorite Masters of the Universe characters. And He-Man and the group had to go rescue him. Another episode featuring Stratos, in a main role, was the episode where I think her name is Dolores, one of his fellow Adrenix members, actually frames him from a crime and has him exiled from the Adrenix, which means Stratos, he loses his powers of the flight. And He-Man, of course, has to prove his innocence, and he proves that Dolores is a traitor. This was an awesome episode, and once again, pretty dark for kids' cartoons. This episode dealt with lying, scheming, and betrayal. I thought that was awesome. Then of course I enjoyed the 2-part episode House of Shibuki. This was actually pretty good for a non-traditional He-Man villain. Skeletor really didn't do much in this cartoon. Trapjaw had a big role in the beginning in the first part of this cartoon, and Ram Man was hilarious in this cartoon when he called Shibuki, the main antagonist of this 2-part episode, Shibuti. That was hilarious. Then of course the next episode is an episode I recently watched called A Tale of Two Cities, where He-Man journeys to some weird looking place where these two Africans kidnap He-Man and force He-Man to fight another African warrior who looks like Zodak from the He-Man 2002 cartoon in arena-style combat. An awesome fight, and once again, it was cool how He-Man spared his challenger when his challenger would not have done the same thing for him, thus showing how much of a hero He-Man is. Like I said, there were lots of episodes. Some episodes I'm even missing, but I want to talk about all my favorites of the ones that I've watched. May do a part 2 of this review of this type of video, but I don't know. Right now, the Super Vader 400 out.